So this morning we are gathered to start our 16 days of gender activism, and we have a number of activities that are lined up within the period that we will be engaged in these activities. We have the students and the staff gathered this morning, and apart from today, which is the launch, we also have 1st of December, when we will have the International Words Day, and this will be focused on looking at teenage pregnancy. Then we have the International Day of People with Disability on 3rd of December, and we will be looking at gender issues in relation to disability. Then we have the 6th of December, the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. And as a university, we will mark this by candle lighting in remembrance of those who have lost their lives, whether men or women, due to gender-based violence. Then finally, on 10th, we will have the celebration of Human Rights Day. And this day, we will mark the Human Rights Day in relation to gender activities. So, therefore, those are the activities that are lined up in regard to 16 days of gender activism. And therefore, I just want to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to participate in these activities. We will be working together, and the activities are aimed as a university, being the institution of higher learning. We would want to create an impact on the society and leave the society a better place than we found it with regard to gender issues. So at this particular time, I would like to invite Madam Ross to make a few remarks, and then Madam can invite the VC to make his remarks.
Acting Registrar Academic Affairs, members of the PNC committee, all invited. All of us for taking time to doing this shows that we take gender issues seriously. We should take that initiative to oversee mainstreaming issues of gender from the family level, from where we work, in our various offices, where we are studying as students. Let's take the matter seriously, so that the responsibility of all of us has impact with regard to gender mainstreaming issues. Without much ado, my responsibility today is to invite the Vice
the chairperson, the streaming committee, Dr. Rose Otieno, the two acting registrars who are with us here, Registrar Administration, also better. And the Registrar of Academic Affairs, Joas Kerongo. Other students, Gladys Osoro, members of the Gender Ministry Committee here, Dr. Nyanga, Dr. Eche, Dr. Eric Songo, and others, other staff who are with us here. Students, good morning. Good morning, everyone. You appear to be wearing very sad faces. Gender-based violence kwa mbaya sana. At least it's very early in the morning and a good day. With this kind of weather we have here, we need to be a bit jovial. God has given us a very good place. You go to some places where we were recently, it's now winter. And you cannot even start talking without adjusting accordingly, putting on very heavy clothing, and also making sure that your houses are properly air conditioned so that you are able to survive. So this is, as we have, as the chairperson has informed us, this is a very important day, not only for us here at Kisii University. It's an important day globally, and we have got to really recognize it because it's dealing with a very important issue which affects our societies for many years, and it's still with us, and it may continue into the future. If you can allow me now, let me go through my written speech. I say that I'm quite delighted this morning to join you as we mark the International Day of the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and the beginning of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, simply dubbed 16 days of activism. This is, as we all know, this is an annual international campaign running to 10th December 2021, when we have the Human Rights Day. We have discussed these issues of gender-based violence in meetings such as these ones, in boardrooms, and sometimes people have got various understanding of this very critical topic. Some people believe that when we talk about gender, we are talking about women. And probably, as from my own perspective, the issue of gender-based violence is a close-cutting issue. And we may not be able to properly handle and come up with a better way forward unless both genders men and women, in fact, men, because I'm made to understand that the major perpetrators of violence against their sisters, their mothers, their children. Unless all of us are engaged, we may not be able to achieve our objectives of trying to minimize and eventually eradicate these gender-based challenges, violence, and many other gender-based inequities. Our university joins Kenya and the UN and the whole world at large to reflect and formulate measures that will contribute to ending violence against women and girls. The theme for this year's campaign, which looks quite appropriate, is Orange the World, End Violence Against Women Now. Gender-based violence is a manifestation of the existing power inequalities between men and women, girls and boys, and encompasses a wider area of human rights violations. It takes multiple forms, including physical, sexual, psychological, and economic, and even social, and even cultural violence. Kenya has over the years recorded high rates of violence against women and girls, including the so-called intimate partner violence, child pregnancies, female genital mutilation, popularly abbreviated as FGM, earlier and forced child marriages, among others. These issues, they are complex, they are not simple, and they may not have very simple answers as we are gathered here today. They are deeply rooted, and one thing which we miss out when we discuss about issues of gender-based violence is the cultural aspects of the whole issue. Gender-based violence has got to be contextualized within the broader cultural attributes. And you may find that each community has got unique cultural attributes, practices which they have held over many years, whereby in many instances, gender becomes basically a cultural issue. And I would like all of us to understand that, because sometimes we're talking about women activism, probably singing what we are being told by the Western world. You know, orange the world, what does that mean? We are putting on orange ribbons here, orange color ribbon. What does that mean? Where did that thinking of orange the world, where did it originate from? Because unless we understand culture, what people believe, how people have engineered themselves to socialize and live their lives, we may not be able to tackle these issues of gender. And I will urge everybody here to seriously contextualize and think. Think about your family, where you came from. How did your father relate with your mom, and why? Before we start, globalizing these issues as we move forward, because the issue of gender and the violence has been completely westernized, and at the end of it, we don't really give this issue proper justice. Somebody was recently doing research about land use and women in a Kenyan community. The person found it very clearly that during the pre-colonial period, women were empowered and had clear rights. They had clear rights on how to use land. Women were freely allowed to, it was the right of the women to be given to use the land. But now, when we look at it past the pre-colonial period, comes the colonial period, you find that those rights were eventually, messed up with. So, this misconception that Africans and their cultures didn't protect women, that women were completely violated in African cultures, is really a creation of people from other societies. Believe you me that, our cultures, although we understand, even the issue of the so-called genital mutilation is an issue which needs to be contextualized properly and to be understood, although the physical part of it, as we agree, is not really completely unacceptable. But the whole thing had some very serious cultural perspectives. And as why it was being practiced, as we are talking about how we should not do the physical part of the so-called of this kind of ritual. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, I'm surprised that Dr. Rose Otieno, where are your colleagues, staff? I'm just seeing here students. There are very few. Can the staff who are here stand? People who are staff now teaching and teaching. Can you stand? See, there are about 10. Rose. The two roses. And now, have you really sensitized the staff? I thought we should be getting more people here.
Yes, we did invite them.
And where are they now? I think they are perpetuating the violence. I think they are the perpetuators. Isn't it? I'm seeing students here, and I thank the male students who are here. They shows quite positive understanding of the issue of gender, because we must promote equity. We must promote equity if we are going to move forward. So this issue is quite critical. Ladies and gentlemen, it is worth noting that Kenya has instituted various legal and policy reforms, invested in the establishment of institutions to prevent, respond, and manage gender-based violence. And the government has initiated innovative behavioral and communication programs to end gender-based violence. Our country is also a signatory to several international and regional conventions and treaties committed to end gender-based violence against women and girls. But some people argue, you may not agree with me, that this thing cuts across. We do have men, maybe some of them are seated here, who suffer violence from their spouses. And this violence doesn't happen physical. In fact, the worst one is psychological, where you are completely tormented and then used to nothingness. As a country, we are also experiencing increasing cases of application of teenage girls and boys who are exposed to pornographic materials, drugs, and substance of abuse and sexual harassment. Sexual attacks directed to girls with disabilities and older women are also on the rise. There are more cases of online sexual harassment as well. This online thing is really getting out of hand. It's a new form of, harassment. In fact, it's a new form of gender-based violence, where people are propagating stereotypes against women. Some of them are, trying to, waylay innocent ladies. They waylay them through pornographic materials and other propaganda to mess up their minds and eventually entice them into very, very, very negative, very destructive sexual activities. We have noted with a lot of concern an emerging culture of silence among victims of gender-based violence, perhaps due to confinement of persons at home and a feeling of hopelessness. By the way, the pandemic, COVID, has really perpetuated gender-based violence. All of us, we know that since this pandemic started in March last year, we have got a very serious increase. As people stayed at home, there was a lot of domestic gender-based violence. There were issues of rape, incest, and many other negative things as it relates to women, girls, and even men. These incidences are estimated to increase during the December festive season, when most families and communities venture into fun and celebrations. Kisii University is committed to promoting collaboration, partnership, and networking with key stakeholders through the institution's management to enhance advocacy and implementation of gender mainstreaming activities. These things just, again, they boil down to you as a person. Ask yourself, you as a person, because that is it. It all starts with you. Ask yourself, what role are you playing in this challenge of gender-based violence? Is it possible that some of us sitting here now looking very innocent? We are perpetrators. It's very ironic. Some of us here now, even putting on suits, we are perpetrators of gender-based violence. I can tell you, some ladies at home, they are very tough. Mzee akifika nyumbani hivi, namwambia, wewe, wapi pesa? Pesa, we are the provider. Akimwambia wacha atakaa kidogo, mwambia hapana, wewe ni bure. Usaidii chochote. Hata school fees hujalipa ya wanafunzi vizuri. Watoto. Kwa hivyo wewe ni bure. Kiangalia wase wengine wanafanya vizuri hapa na wewe utosi kitu. Bure kabisa. Sasa hiyo ni violence. We have also established, as a university, we have also established a full functioning gender mainstreaming committee that is mandated to mainstreaming gender in the university workplace, policies, plans, and programs. And we really appreciate this committee. They are doing a fantastic job, and we would like you guys to continue doing it so that eventually we end up having a better society. Let me tell you this. Any society which undermines, any society which discriminates against one gender, here let us talk specifically which discriminates against their women folk. That society is in deep trouble, because we know very well that women are at the center of livelihoods. They are the people who nurture, they nurture families. They are the people who give birth to children. They are the people who nurture these children. In fact, they are the core of any society. So, any family, any society, any country which doesn't empower their women folk is a doomed society. It has been found that those countries, in fact, they call them feminist countries which tend to have very strong policies which favor women. Here we are giving an example of the Nordic, the so-called Nordic countries, Norway, Sweden, among others. Those countries which are kind of classified in quotes as being feminist, kind of, they are the countries which are highly developed. Because women are at the center. And when women are at the center of development, I can tell you things get better. But when the men, these patriarchal systems where the men are everything, it is a total mess. Just look at Africa. Africa, we are promoted patriarchal. Women don't have any voice, I remember when we were growing up, when the elders are seated in the sitting room or under a tree, a woman cannot speak. A woman cannot speak. She was there to be seen. Those societies which are so patriarchal, we have done it poorly. In fact, I'm one of those people who believe, and I think, and maybe even the women, they are part of this problem. I think we need to empower women. We need to have, for instance, in our country, we need to have a woman president. You know what? I will wake up very early in the morning. I will wake up very early in the morning and go on the phone, even if she doesn't win. I can tell you, being students, a woman can be a better president. Man, we have messed up everything. Ukiingia uongozi, you have got a big ego. You want to be worshipped, everybody. You want to grab all the resources, and then build bigger houses there. You want to misuse, in fact, perpetuate the violence against women, marrying another woman there in the village, another one in the town, another one in the coast. Terrible men. So, and by the way, even women were part of the problem. Why can't we women stand up? Why should African women, why do they allow men to destroy them and destroy their children? That's the paradox. we are facing here. So if we are to flip the coin in Africa and allow the women to be in front, I can tell you Africa will be transformed in a very short time. Women are empathic. Women are very, very empathic. Women tend to be very, very merciful. Women are sustainers of life. And the sooner we understand it in Africa, the better we can become. But sometimes one may say that that is easier said than done. As a university, we need to reject ideas, beliefs, values, norms, and systems that perpetuate violence against women. We must read in this fight of eradicating these cultural beliefs and embrace diversity in our institutions and communities. Universities such as ours are well placed to provide education and spaces to discuss issues affecting the social moral fabric of our societies, and must lead in confronting patriarchal systems that subjugate women as second-class citizens. The issue of research, Dr. Rosso Tieno, Dr. Okeche, others here, we really want the university, we want people to engage on research and to try to understand these issues. That why is it that we are now almost 60 years of independence, still women are even more and more marginalized? We want to do more research, and it's all of you to engage, not only the ladies, but men should be at the center of it. Our university applauds government agencies, county governments, and development partners, the private sector, non-state actors, faith sector, and the communities for their continued programming, funding, and strengthening of interventions geared towards the elimination of gender-based violence. We congratulate the National Gender and Equality Commission for its commitment to promoting gender equality and freedom from discrimination as mandated by our noble Kenyan Constitution. And we may be surprised that we do have a very good constitution, a constitution which captures issues gender. The one which comes very, very easily to our mind is the so-called 1/3 gender rule, which has been completely violated by the lawmakers. And still the lawmakers are moving forward without impunity. The Constitution is very clear on issues of gender, but nothing has been implemented. You wonder whether, do we have functioning institutions? We have functioning institutions. Which was other countries, parliament, will be suspended because of that very important constitutional requirement. But, in our part of the world, anything goes. We have got a good constitution, but somebody was saying that, you see, you can change the forest. You can do what? You can change what? But even the monkeys are the same, they will continue playing the monkey game. They will continue playing the stupid game. And that's why we are going to dig dig deeper into culture and understand why we behave that way. Otherwise, we may not be able to have answers to these very complex issues which we confront. And there is a whole issue. Well, most of the women who are promoting these items are based in urban centers. But the majority of our women are in the rural areas. In fact, 80% and more of the women are found in rural environments. And that's where they even face very serious gender issues. And one can argue, and I can argue without any sense of contradiction, that there is a gap between the women who are calling themselves activists in the urban setting and the women in the rural setting. And because of that, we find that we are not being able to achieve much. How do we bring in all the women? How do we come up with a language which all of us would understand? You are talking about orange what? What do you call it? Orange the one? If we go to the village there where they are banning women and talk about now, we are talking about orange the wild. With what they would understand, what orange what? Would they understand even that statement? You see, we have got to be very critical about these particular issues. We need to dig deeper and contextualize these issues. Understand who we are as a people and why are things happening the way they do. Allow me to conclude by saying that as a university, we commit to join the rest of the world in eliminating violence against women. As we commence activities and campaigns against gender-based violence in the next 16 days, I urge you all to remember that ending gender-based violence is our shared responsibility, and we all have to have a role to play. Thank you very much, and may God bless each one of us. Thank you. You will allow me, you're supposed to be having a Senate, so I will be moving on immediately. So will you allow me to leave?
Yes.
Yeah. You never know about tomorrow. Thank you. So can you allow us to leave?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Before you leave, allow us also to appreciate you and appreciate the wonderful message that you've given to us this day. We have all listened, and we have seen how the Vice Chancellor is very passionate about gender issues, putting emphasis on culture and contextualizing gender issues within our culture. And as a committee has challenged us that how do we narrow the gap between us who are advocates of gender matters with those women who are residing in the rural areas. So as a committee, that should be our next step. The Vice Chancellor has also challenged us for the academicians who are here. I want to appreciate our Registrar Academics who has joined us after we did the introduction, Dr. Kerongo, and we also have Dr. Fernanda, who is in research. So that is a challenge that has also been thrown to us, that in research, can we come up with research that targets gender, that is for the academicians. So we thank you so much, Vice Chancellor, for finding time to grace this occasion and to launch the 16 days of gender activism. And as a committee, together with the participants, we can assure you that we are going to work on the areas where you have challenged us. So thank you so much. Allow me to request our expert in plagiarism.
Yeah, I forgot to introduce Dr. Fernanda, who is the acting registrar, research and extension. Dr. Fernanda, can you wave to the
And the registrar.
As introduce you, Joas Keromba introduce you, the human resource manager, something like that. Because I did and the others. Let's continue.
Thank you. We appreciate your time. So allow me to ask Dr. Gladys Osoro the appreciation. I know she's an expert.
Good morning, everyone. Vice Chancellor, three tire. You know that. You know that three tire. The hand, the finger, the hand, and the legs. We give him three nice ones as we allow him to go and chair the Senate because we want our predecessor to graduate. Yes. Okay. Let's warm up. Let's warm up. Call up. Two. Corno. Corno.
Thank you so much. Yes.
That's cool, Sana.
Good morning. Good morning. Habari zenu. My name is Dr. Jacqueline Nyanga. I'm the institution's medical officer, and I'm a member of the committee, the Gender Mainstreaming Committee. I'll just explain one or two things why we are here today. Over time, we have tried to eliminate gender disparities, whereby we view men and women differently, forgetting that we are both equal and human beings. You can imagine that if you go for an interview at work, both of you are employed at the same level. For example, you're both lawyers or advocates of the High Court, same qualification, maybe you also have the same grades, and then you get a job and the starting salary, you know, salary is silly. Would you really know how much someone earns unless they tell you or you stumble upon the case? Then 2-3 years down the line, you find out that one of you, either the male or female, is earning more than the other. And the only reason is because they are either male or female. How would that feel? How will that feel? The same qualification can be done. And you find that a lady, just because she's a lady, she's earning more. because she says, oh, I am the weaker gender, I am abused, etc., etc. Now that is the scenario that happens in Europe and part of America. Women with the same qualifications with men. The women tend to earn even a third less. The argument by those governments is that men support a bigger chain of people or society. That a man is taking care of his parents, a man is taking care of his wife, a man is taking care of his. But the woman, you're wondering. So as we sit here today, believe it or not, the women in the West are also undergoing some form of gender-based violence or discrimination. That's the same as us here. Now let's go back to our rural homes. The reasons you've been invited here is that you mainstream gender, both in your own life, at your workplace, where you live, and as a leader. Remember the way you're here in the university, either working or studying, there are people who look up to you. Seriously. People call you, people consult you. In a few years, you'll be employed in organizations where you'll be a leader, you'll be a manager, you'll be a supervisor, even in your own small range. Supposing next year you are employed as an untrained teacher or a trained teacher in a small school in your village as you're hustling for a job. Don't you think you meet issues of gender discrimination? So don't always look at it as we are castigating you because you beat your wife or beat your boyfriend or vice versa. But it's a matter of changing yourself so that you make an impact to the community. And we keep repeating these things because we are victims of discrimination one way or another. For example, right now, if you go to Annex where I work, and you're a father, I've seen a baby there. Supposing the father of this child takes this baby to the clinic. Someone be an where I'm saying, Mama, I want to talk then what will you tell him if he insists on sitting and the project? So that is some of the things we need to look at, that we are actually discriminating against ourselves. Now, why do we discuss gender and health? Because number one, the issues that impact women, today I'll talk about the women mainly, affect the men in terms of medical costs. Imagine your mother, your grandmother at home. When they're diagnosed with something like cervical cancer or breast cancer, will you have peace here? Chemotherapy, so that we cannot say that women problems are just women problems. No. When a mother is down, the whole society is affected. Now, what do you think is the proportion of the Kenyan workforce that actually has health cover? Maybe 40%, because you could be having a job but having a cover. Right now, how many of you have a health cover? Students. Such that if you are mgonjwa, the health cover pays for you, or do we all dig into our pockets? Supposing you are admitted at level 6 with malaria, who will pay the bill? A few of us and a child. So that is why it is very important for us to discuss these things. Another thing is some of these issues are life-threatening. So if you are down with something like breast cancer or cervical cancer, you will not be able to work. Because you are undergoing chemotherapy, on anemia, when you mgonjwa, etc. So what happens in that home? When a mother is not able to cook and to clean herself and her children, what happens? Eventually you find the children become sweet kids. What will you be told? Their mother is sleeping in their house and they talk about and if you change the scenario and the man is the one who has cancer, maybe of the prostate, do you think the children will be outside the hoovering or the they say if you want to know whether your partner loves you as a woman, jaribu kuwa mgonjwa. Jaribu kuwa mgonjwa for 2 weeks uone. Atakuletea maji siku ya kwanza, siku ya pili atasema nini? Ambia dada yako akuja kusaidia ama enda kwenu ukipona uru. Normally what usually happens when you have your first child as a lady. Sasa ukipata comrade hapo na mwendake ya kwanza, maybe after 4th year. So the plan will be nikishaza nende kukaa kwa mama yangu anisaidie. Sio? Because those first 6 weeks, number 1, bado uko na ile discharge ya mama, mazuri na mwagika, mtoto analialia. So unakaa na mama yako for 40 days, alafu after that, kisha mtu smart, when you're now useful for the man, and you understand each other here. See all about the routine. You system, uko kumeacha kufurafura, you can imagine childbirth, breast milk is all under control is when you go back to your husband's bed. Before you want, and if he insists to sit in the house, what will happen to the man? Atatafuta kitanda kingine, sio? Ama akae watch CNN the whole night. Anageti kama saa 9 from the summer. That time is smiling, because the discrimination is there. The social impact is real. We experience it every day. Then we also have the issue of transmissibility. For example, cervical cancer is caused by human papilloma virus. It's a sexually transmitted infection. It is so small that it's a condom. So it means there are very many forms of it. Kuna high risk and low risk. High risk in women causes cervical cancer. In men it causes cancer of the pelvis. So are you seeing the way we are in this together? So we cannot say she does a HPV is our mama peke yake. It can also affect men equally. Muona vitu zinaitwa warts. Kwa kidole, kwa genital parts. It's also caused by human papilloma virus. Some of us, when we wake up, tunapata tuko na kinonda hapa kwa mdomo. Very painful, imejaa maji. Happy simplex virus. How is it transmitted? By kissing, symptom or contact, symptom. I've reached to those moments. So those are the realities that we are in, and that's what the things we see next. Now, the issues we're going to talk about today is abortion. I know when you hear abortion, you get worried, but abortion in medical terms is any loss of pregnancy before 20 weeks. So we can also interchangeably call it miscarriage. 1 out of every 10 pregnancies, 1 or 2 end up as a loss. Such that if I have 10 women who are pregnant today, if you are water for the next 20 weeks, at least 1 or 2 of them would have lost the pregnancy. You can imagine the way we become upper size. Come to class, become a lawyer, become an expert, become a doctor, whatever career path you are in, have your child. Then when you get pregnant, mimba inatoka tu yenyewe. How would you feel? Na unaambiwa nini na mzee? Ulitoa mimba ya? Sio ndio watu usema hapa. Tuachana na ule demu, alitoa boli yangu, si ndio? Asif tunangebaki na hiyo mimba ungemsaidia kulea. But usually what do you say? Ule demu kazi yake ni kutoa nini? So what will happen? Your mother-in-law will make sure they get you a replacement, si ndio? One who is able to give birth, si ndio? Watasema nini ulifanyia kama comrade interest? Hawa sana wa university walikuwa kama mimi. By the way, being a university graduate is a high risk. Because the moment you lose a pregnancy, utaambiwa ni kwa sababu ulikuwa na abort kwa campus. And remember something about miscarriages. If you had a miscarriage in your first pregnancy, chances of that recurring in your future pregnancy is 50%. That's why you find someone has been pregnant 5 times but has only 2 children. Because mimba zinatoka hapo katika. Now when that happens, what goes through? I'm telling you as a doctor, the moment someone miscarriages, the next thing anakuuliza daktari, when do I start again? Looking for another child? Because number 1, I want a check for my husband. Number 2, nataka nini? Kijana ama msichana. Kweli? Kweli? Akipata kijana anataka wakuwe wawili? In case kitu fanikiwe mtu mmoja niko naye. Sio? So you end up finding someone has been pregnant for more than 10 times but only has 3 children. You can imagine what happens to this woman's body. Ukweli uongo? Have you ever met someone who is young Lakini akikwambia miaka unasema uko shuko 20, anakaa kwa 35 40. Ukweli uongo? Ukweli uongo? Now, what is the normal birth spacing recommend for women? At least one child every 2 years, so that we give your body time to return back to dormancy. Because your body needs to be healthy for you to carry a successful pregnancy and you to mother this child. So between your firstborn and your secondborn, there should be 2 years. But here, my colleagues mko hapa. Si kuna watu wakimaliza hii maternity narudi na mimba nyingine. Ukweli uongo? Ukienda kwake saa hizi, between mtoto wa class 1 na wanasari yako na 4 kids hapo katikati. Na kuna twins. Ukweli uongo? But when you look at them, we're not discriminating anyone. What do they think they're doing to their bodies? They think about children. Children will grow and leave you. But what about you? Utabaki aje? Ama unasema nimaliza haraka, ni enjoy maisha. That's the policy. Si wakwenda ataenda tu bado. Whether you have 10 children or 2. So it's important that we take control of our bodies. Now, today if I go to a doctor and tell them, many people I have enough children, nifunge tubes, what will the doctor tell me? Madam, endo fikiria, alafu kuja na mzee asaini. Ukweli uongo? They assume niko na mzee. Is it a must to have a mzee to have 10? If you come to annex and I tell you, you're pregnant, tafadhali kesho kuja na mzee wako. Number 1, you might not know who mzee is. So you go and pick the best. Why do we condemn women to pick out sexual partners? Is it a must? But in the guidelines of HIV testing, I'm told as a doctor that when you come for the clinic, the next time you should come with your male partner for testing. Utamconvince aje? Twende clinic. Na kama ilikuwa vitendo, I know so many women who are mature and advanced in their careers, and all they want is a child. They don't want the man because of maybe a traumatic episode they had, maybe rape, maybe abuse. Will you force her to come with a man? Na kama ilikuwa vitendo, walipatana mahali on holiday, she got pregnant, the man went his way, she went her way. Will you force her? Ama utaanza kusema, sister Magdalene, hawa ni wale wenye wajua hata baba za watoto wao. And do you know women are the biggest perpetrators of this? Do you think a male nurse or a male doctor will be that insensitive? Si atasoma mood aone tu hata atauliza swali anatumia hapo utamwambia kwani wewe madam una bwana? Wasema siku nini mbaya na nyinyi? Mbona muolewi? When nyumbani, personally I got married at 28. And my mother happily tells people, I don't know whether she's watching, it's okay. She happily tells people that, hey, when you are coming to ni Mungu tu alitusaidia. Anytime I used to work with Glory, so anytime I visit her, she always follow me to the bedroom. When I'm off. So she always tell me, nice in your because what is she feeling as a mother is that so society itself puts you pressure. So I see that telling you, wait until you finish, you get a job, you are one. They start asking you, they start telling you, you get married, you get one after 3 days, just okay, then after familia always give the name Yanyam, give the name Nancy. But if January or unajua nini niliwalea nini tileni we? Na wakati wa holiday anapita anasema niletee mtoto. Suppose ni just to show up mwambie leo hatuna pesa ya rent kwenye Kisii. University hatujalipa mshahara hii mwezi. So ninakuletea mtoto tukae na wewe hapa. Utaambiwa nini? Utaambiwa nini? Mine will tell me, hakuna shida. Acha kuja na msichana wa kazi na mfanye shopping. Ya mtoto na nini wo? I remember the first time I ever took my daughter when she was young. She was about 8 months to live with my parents. I mean, Kabaki Kazini. I was newly employed here. My house that called me after 2 days. Akanambia, hey, mama nani. Next time when you are shopping to mtoto ununue za kila mtu. Because they were very happy. Mtoto unajua unamnunulia bananas, those nice small things, zile za supermarket, zile safi. But just in the home where my parents are, they have never had a child for more than 30 years. Wanaona chakula sisi wao. Sio mazoea tunakula sisi wao. So you can never do that. So me, what I always tell my patients and my clients, live a life that suits yourself. Have children you can raise at the pace you can. Ama mzee anakuambia ni mimi yuko sikuzalia mzee nini kijana uone penota. Mimi sitaka shida ya vijana. Hapa hizi nimezalisha vijana wengi sana. Do you know that 33% of the cases of infertility is because of a male issue? The other 33 is a female issue. The other 33 is both of you. Then the 1% is unknown. So you could be here and you're the reason a woman cannot be pregnant. Yet woman chapa kila siku. And man, do you really know who your child is? I'll take an example of these two women who will check there and in there. Look at their features. Please remove your mask. Waangalie vizuri. Mtoto wa ule, I know they might not be new child. Mtoto wa ule na huyu watafanana. Angalia tu hizo sura zao. So how will you know? It's for the grace of God. And even if you do at the end of what your 4 children in the house, and you find none of them is yours, you can tell your mother self, ukiwa mdogo ulipatana kaajali na ni kama spota yako iliumia na sisi tunajua vizuri sana huwezi pata mtoto. Sasa mimi naona tu nyamaze. Sio? Huyu mama ametusaidia sana kutoa hii. So unafanya nini? Unarudi kwa pole unakufikia unanyama? Is that not a form of gender based violence? Because the woman who keeps saying, "Oh, endelea kuongea hapo na mimi nimetoa hii." Unataka niambie watu baba yao watoto ni nani? So whoever you are just a useless man. So those are the realities that happen every day when we talk about gender and health. Now, some of you here are fathers. When your wife gets pregnant, you amefanya pregnancy test, amepata mimba. How easy is it for Lisa to go to the clinic? Ama atakwambia wewe, hebu nyamaza. Ninajua sikutenda kitu. You know there's a woman who refused to go to the clinic. And if the man starts saying the clinic, see when the clinic mama nani, anakwambia usinipange. Hata mama yako pale nyumbani akwe na kitu kama breast mask, kitu imemea kwa matiti, na wewe mwenyewe anakwambia kuna kitu hata nichome na maji hapa, umwambie mama tuende hospitali, atatoka atakwambia nini? Sasa kwa sababu ulienda Kisii University juzi, unaona unajua maneno. Tusiende mbali. Right now, if I tell men, bring all your wives tomorrow, we examine their cervix. Tuwaweke hivi, turudishe hiyo plastic kama chuma, we take a sample. How many will come? Atamwambia unajua baba boy, si wewe unafanyia hiyo kitu mimi. Na mimi ile uchungu yenye nilipata last time, kama nikukupa hata niku. Is not what women will say. So those are the issues we talk about inequality and gender issues. Contraceptive hiyo tumeongea, breast cancer tumeongea. Today, if you know a woman who has breast cancer, na fanyiwe double mastectomy, tutoe breast yote. Ashoni. Then then now she starts a relationship with you. After a few days, it's now time to consummate the relationship. At all, you go pattern and breast. What will you do as a man? About mission. That's it. Ukweli tu sore atamaliza lakini atasema never again. Na ndio hapa tena ambia wadau mbogi yangu nimeona mabichi. Kitabu anatembea kwa ile hakuna kabisa. Hakuna kabisa. And that's why you tell it to even your grandchildren and your children and the children of your children. Yes, maybe next time she can usikie. Because when you're not kushikwa, ni penye hakuna kaki. So those are the realities of life. Nendelea tu next. So nishaongea cervical cancer. Now talk about STIs. Next. Next. Yes, next. Now, why do you talk about STIs? 1 out of 5 people in this room ambaye kuwa na kaswende, gonorrhea, ama kashida fulani, kazina. Siji, lakini unajua. Najua mmetanga mnasema ni UTI, lakini ukweli unajua kashida kakomaha. Ukweli uongo. Wale watu kwenye simu inapaswa. Now the reason is kuna vitu huwezi jisaidia. For example, if you have a burst condom, then you tell yourself, roho juu. Huyu mtu akai mbaya sana. Anakaa kosa. Then after a few days you get the kaswende. And in between the burst condom and the kaswende, you have started maybe 2 or 3 other. When you come to me in the clinic, na nikupata uko na ugonjwa zina, I will tell you, bring me your sexual partners for the last 1 week. Body counts. Unajua kama unaambia mtu hebu nisaidie kalamu na karatasi. Then I tell you to not bring them because they're outside the country. Mengine labda ni samabali, write them down and their phone numbers. So what we usually do is we do contact tracing. We treat you, and then we now trace these other people and call them and tell them, habari yako, unaitwa Jacqueline? Yes. Now, in the last 1 year, one of your sexual partners who you had has been found to have had syphilis. Na tunaomba uende uchekiwe na utibiwe. Imagine that phone call. That is what should happen. Text to me. Unajua hapa Kenya tuko na kitu inaitwa constitution. But we really adhere to it. Same thing. We have protocols which are ready for protocols, management of zina. We're supposed to do that. But do we really do that? As a doctor, sinakwambia hiyo ni shida ya? Si kwa ngui. Hata unaweza niuliza daktari sote, nakwambia si shida ya? Si shida yangu. Na utapiga simu. Close above. I'm a medical doctor. I'm supposed to take PEPs. Post-exposure prophylaxis for 28 days. Hizo madani ya risk kabisa. Nimezibeba nimeenda nazo kwangu. Nitaziweka hapo. Nitaziweka tu kwenye meza kwenye house girl, housekeeper anaziona watoto mzee. Kwanza azione tu nitakaambia ni Silivisa. Ataamini atunipa. So what will happen naturally as a human being? I will have. Yeah, I'm telling you a true story. I will never preach in 2013. I was not in a sexual relationship then, but in purpose. You know I have to hide them. And I said to myself, is this what people go through? What is the issue? What I mean is the future. Is it self-discrimination? Is it stigmatized? Imagine zikionekana, watu wataniongea. But are there worse things you can get? Like diabetes, hypertension, which is not controlled, that will kill you faster, or COVID than that. Hata COVID says in community na COVID. Utaambia watu. Kwa nini? Wakasema kwa nini? Stigma. So this is a big issue we have. We self-stigmatize ourselves, we stigmatize others. But imagine if everybody who contracted gonorrhea can tell us all the people they are slept with and you treat them. Don't you think we'll eliminate it? Right now, there's a shortage of condoms in our country. You shouldn't want to hear. There's a shortage of gold. So there's a shortage of condoms here. Lakini huku mashinani, how is it our problem exactly? Isn't it? She doesn't know. She doesn't know. So gonorrhea, you just have this discharge. In men, they doctor matter because within 3 days you will feel the pain, and they always know because of the acute symptoms. For women, you're just going to have discharge, and very little or no abdominal pain. Unaanza kujiambia ni kama naenda kunyesha, but what is happening to your internal parts? Zimeshikwa na usazi na shikana. Then later on you try to get pregnant, nothing. Pregnant, nothing. Ukienda upimo unaambiwa you're blocked. 10 years down the line, you never know where you went from. Are you seeing where the problem is with women? STIs in women are silent, but in men they are very dramatic. And in a man, who is your husband or your partner, after two STIs, but anaweza kosa kuambia mke wako, ukweli wangu anapita dawa ndani ya buti, sio? Anameza pole na kumwambia daktari, mimi nidunge sindano. Jambo siwezi wewe. Ukweli wangu. Comrades, what am I namazing? Would you tell your partner or your wife? Would you? Yes, namwambia. Mwambie tu habari yako. Mama nani? Nimepatikana na ugonjwa zina. Hakuna umetoa wapi na hapo unadhani. Sio? Hapo umekuwa safari for the last 2 weeks. Nimepatikana na ugonjwa zina. Utamwambia? But tutaambia nani sio? You will tell the girlfriend. Utamwambia aje? Wewe leo ni sio? Na ukiona utarudi huko. Usiji ladies. I'm talking to the gentlemen. Ukiona utarudi huko. Au utarudi na kondo, sio? Utajipanga next time, sio? I like the honesty. Let's go on. Now, those are some of the diseases, the syphilis next. Herpes, hiyo tumesema. Genital warts next. Hepatitis, vaginosis, tuendelee. Tricho. Lice. Hey, wadau. Tafadhali tunyoe. Niko serious. Tunyoe. Nywele inabaki tu gani? Hii na hizi hivi. Sawa? Na maybe ndevu kama ziko smart. Kwingine kote? Hii mambo ya African, I'm a feminist, my body, my chest. As a medic, I beseech for hisani ya clean air and hygiene and just being fresh. Tunyo? There are things we have to just do. Number one, mwanamke ni kuoga, hata ambare kuambia, sivyo? Ogeni. Tunaoga asubuhi na jioni. You can imagine. I'm looking for 3 body sizes. Maybe the largest step. That's not happening. Look at, you are allowed to look at us. Look at all our eyes. These are African women. I'm sure she's not more than 50 years. This is the average size of an African. Yeah? huyu ni small, normal, big. Look at all our legs. Are they together? Lakini hata kama ni nini, so unaona ni kama tuko hivi. Hapa hii ndio. You are allowed to look. Hii ndio ni si point. The way we are today, we are going to go to the toilet maybe 3-4 times, 3, and maybe 1 long one. The distance between the vaginal opening or vulva and the anus is just 5 centimeters. Alafu ujiongeza sweat, ujiongeza mafuta, ujiongeza friction. So maybe after doing all these things, niende tu kwa nyumba, same panty nimepanda since morning, niingie niruke bed. Niamke nioge haraka, nikimbie penye ninaenda. After 1 week mimi nitakuja leo kwa daktari. Kuna wenye najipu na kuna ka discharge na nafikiri nimejipu. Ukweli uongo. Ukweli uongo. Ukweli uongo. Now the main problem, you are the users of our bodies. Allow me to use that one. Need of experience is big. We will always, men will always tell you the conversation, lakini wanawake lazima tuangalie usafi. Mother nimendao wherever in a forum like this. Or very educated women in a big hotel in town. Then that man came and called me and said, when you come down now, mama hapo ndani, please, ongeni mambo ya usafi. Nikamwambia wacha hizo. Kwa hisani yako mwongee mambo ya usafi. What do you think was a little bit? I know when Papa kuna mtu anataka kwani nani kwani anatuona sisi ni wachafu. Ninasema hivyo mimi. But that is the reality. Remember, in your house you're going to have people who are living with you. Either wanafanyia kazi, either they're in the office, people you are supporting, your relatives. It is important hygiene is maintained. Mtalimani nywele hapo na hiyo jasho yote na nini unakuwa na pipi twice. When you sleep with this person, anampiza mwingine na mwingine. Especially if you're going to, especially our for Western culture. Unajua wapendi vitu sana. You define that our week na sleep. One of the twice a week. You have the basic saying so called there. They don't shower every day like us. Then you partake such a person. No, don't apologize. I'm not discriminating against any of this, but the reality is pubic lice are there and they're in contact. So do not share clothes and whoever you're having sexual activity with. Naye akuwe msafi. Ukweli uongo. Ukweli uongo. Especially I know some of you young ladies here, unapata uko na spoon. Na spoon anakuambia there are things my wife does not do to you. Unaona ni nini? Kwa sababu it's sexual activity they have it. Because people are size with 2 years. So you want to say our life pamoja? Huko kutoka wapi? Na wanafanana naye kabisa. So what is this thing you want from you that is why cannot deliver? See, most of it is out of sex. Out of the normal. Ukweli? Yeah, amesema project. Sasa wewe uko hapo, sponya amezurura the whole day, probably said to the sexual worker in town, ajaoga, na wewe pia uko hapo, but you want rent. So unasema, I am telling you. Then unasema kutoka, no, so throat. So you can put down here. I want to a wise man, eh? Now, now, mtu asijidai hapa, no, let's unaona hiyo image? Tafadhali, let us go and revisit how we control. You as a man who is putting it on, and you as a lady who is being a recipient of the condomize condom. So msikuta mniambie ilipotea na tujui kama ilitoka. But there are such cases. We had sexual activity and we cannot find the condom. They said the vagina is a potential space. But it's a masculine thing, come back. But you never get a poor woman though. It can be big enough for a bedroom scorpions, and it can be small enough for a penis, or whatever size, and to discriminate. There's nothing you can do about it. We take what we get. So it's a potential space. So in that potential space, the condom, if improperly worn, can disappear. So zingine mnaitafuta na kumbe kwa shit mahali. Kweli wao. So please don't wear your condom in the night and not imagine you. Who taught you? Am I yourself taught? I'm only the images for your package. If you are given a phallus right now, an erect phallus as a name, you can pay a condom size. Unaweza correctly. Now we try correctly. Well, Ama you never thought about it. Okay, let's have this conversation. Do you have condoms in your possession as a rule? You need to answer. Now, if you put a command, what will happen? Ama hizo vitu ni zako daktari. Ni kama goal, we don't use condoms. We need to normalize that conversation. The children and adolescents above the age of 15, what section should know how to find condoms, how they are worn, and how they are disposed open. That is what the Kenyan law allows us. It's called sexual reproductive health. But you see, the way you are looking at me, and you were 15 years, how many years ago? It means someone trained someone teaching you this thing. So please, make it your own prerogative to learn these things. Not for you, but if your child comes to you at the mom, Dad, I need to know how a condom is on profile. Don't get me? What is our book? So who do you expect to teach your child this to? The one. Ongea na vijana wenzako. Na akienda kwa vijana wenzako waulizwe ni nini hapana. Mambo vinaleta maneno. Huko tunadu mbara hiyo tu. And you hope for the best. Kama nikukupa tuku. Please let us normalize this conversation. And the best way to normalize this conversation is not be shy about sexual reproductive health issues. Talk about them. It does not mean you're now at your pervert. In fact, the ones who don't talk about it are the ones. See, why should you free share about it? And we are all products of sexual reproductive health. The successful ones, the sperm that made the journey successful. So let's not be shy about this. Because yes, and you know what goes on. They have sexual activity between 15 and 24. See that? After 24, after you tell your kids on it, soon a hustle. Rent, chakula, utafanya masters, PhD. So, like, if 15 to 24, what do you do with your free time? Eh? Muna hobbies. I'm not hoping you. Now, for breast cancer, this is the last as I finish. All of us have breast tissue. When you want boy child, simple breast tissue. But there are 1 out of 5 cases of breast cancer are usually a man. Men do get breast cancer, and they have died of breast cancer. So you need to know that it is normal. Now, your breast tissue, the things you should look out for is alarm. Alarm means uvimbe. There's something on my breast. At this particular age group you are in as students, I'm a comrade. Most of it is a benign. Benign is to see cancerous, but will be metabolism than your breast. So what we do, we remove it and it may retard because of high estrogen levels. So someone between the age of 15 to 24 might have a breast lump, but might not necessarily be breast cancer. Remember, breast cancer has hereditary tendencies, such that if a female in your family has breast cancer, you stand a high chance of getting breast cancer as a female in that family. So what should you do? How frequently should you examine your breast? At least once a month. That's all. For ladies, you do it a week after your menses, because we all know what happens during the week to menses. And that's why thank God for Corona. Especially hakuna hugs, na close contact. Because some people are very rough in hugging, especially men. Yeah, so always be very careful about spaces and don't just dive at someone. See, just go beside her. Look at maybe they are going through menstrual tension and their nipples and breasts are highly sensitive. So do it after when everything has settled down, when your hormones and you are just more relaxed. Then look at the issues of looking. Mukona mirrors, ama nini mko tu? Mnatumia camera. Kuangalia kwa sawa. Camera. Yes, please let us invest in a mirror. Hiyo ni pesa ngapi? Sasa niambie hiko. Get a nice view, and unajiona hapa mahali hapa. Sio? For ladies, get a full size mirror so that you can tell how your outfit looks like. Enjoy the simple things in life. Sio? Surely, comrades. Sio kama hiyo ni yako unaweza kati mirror hapo. Sio? Adogo tu hii uweke kaframe kambao. Not cost more than 500 shillings. Now you stand in front of the mirror and you look. And you move your clothes. So do it when your roommate is not in. You say, my friend, nafanya best exam. Hizi vitu ni natural. Sasa uko na matiti, nina matiti, wacha kufanya exam. You know that some people have no problem with it. Have you heard them? Anatembea tu. Making you feel uncomfortable. Sit down. Unakwambia nini? Kwa nini uniangalie kwa macho? Do it in privacy and not just look with your arms like this. So that your breast is relaxed. Remember, the breast is pulled towards the chest. Sasa, by connecting tissue. Sasa. Then it's also pulled towards the what we call it, the shoulder and the armpits. So do it with the hands like this. The second image shows how you do that. Arms are keep up to your lateral waist. Eko simameni mfanye na mimi. Ndio wacha niangalie. The first thing you look at is, I'm assuming you know your breasts. The first time you're meeting them, you say, hi, Nani and Nani. Are you looking at yourself? You look at your nipples. The first thing you see is their position. Are they where they are normally supposed to be? Unajua kuna difference. Kuna iko hapa, iko hapa. It depends. At what stage of life. Are they where they're supposed to be? I'm not going to think sana. Then you look at the right and the left. Are they the same position? Usiona bado iko chini, nyingine juu. Nyingine juu. Hands are people, you look again. I think what we don't find any naturalism in look. See that? Again, at the same position again. You find any because when you look at the again, the same position. Then you look for color. Unaangalia kama kuna redness ama kwa maziwa kanatoka ama uchafu yoyote. See that? Then from there on now you examine. Unaweka mkono mmoja nyuma. Then you take shoulder again. Shoulder and right. Yeah, press your right. So you put your right hand behind. Then you take your hand. Penye tunafeel ni hapa. Si hapa. Unajua ili kudunga hiki. Hapa. Then you go down. Unasema naanzia kama ni armpit. And you go in a clockwise direction. Kama saa. Saa yako hii inaenda aje? Saa inaenda aje? Yes. Tuendelee. Saa inaenda. Si hivi. Across. So you're pressing your breast across your chest. So no see kama kuna kauvimbe ama uchungu maha. Go all the way Ukiingia ndani, either the government will take you. Wengine
The next, turn it clockwise. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Hapana shika kama radio. Your massaging inside the field. See na kidole moja. Yote. Nipples. Nothing. After that, what next?
we go now and lie down.
Unataka kujipanga? Remember you are alone. Then when you're lying down, you do the same. And after you come under your phone, because when breast cancer forms, it spreads to your kidneys. Unaenda mpaka ndani. Sasa kama unaogopa kwa yako, kama ukiingia na daktari, nani anaguza kwa kati yako? What is it? So what are the warning signs? Pain, discharge, and alarm. Ukipata hizo, you rush to hospital. Sasa si kitu unasema acha ni observe, Una observe for 1 year. You rush and seek opinion. Usiende Google. Sure. Google is not a doctor. Google is just a way of information. So you go to hospital and the necessary precautions. So thank you very much. As I said, the word for wise man is enough. Let's take care of ourselves. This information starts by changing yourself. Now you can also change other people. Mtakuuliza opinion, usimwambie hiyo sijui. Kama unamwambia hiyo nao wacha tu Google ama nini. Tell them what you know and then you tell them to seek the professional advice. So thank you very much and bless.
The exam is done. How many people passed the exam? Thank you, Doctor. What I think with Dr. Nyanga is that, she handles her topics, which mainly touch on medical and personal issues that a lot of things. She's very much at home. And she brings it out the way it is. Without hiding anything. And I want to believe that for this session, people have learned a lot. And we are still in the process. I always say that we are always in the process of being made. Nobody ever reaches like saying I have enough knowledge. So every opportunity is always a learning opportunity. Thank you, Daktari, for that beautiful presentation. She's also sent out a very strong message on behalf of the GMC that yes, gender issues that affects both men and women. I'm sure the young men seated here, the mature men seated here, they were surprised that even men were surprised. Yeah, so let us take seriously advice as a medic. Together we go on. So again, I have that idea. The clapiologist. To appreciate Dr. Nyan.
Daktari by all means is young at heart. Sindio? Daktari wafanye nini? Examination ilikuwa nini? Daktari is obviously young at heart. Sindio? And the class for young people is Karavanda. Karavanda. I've had scratches. Okay. No scratches, please. Can we go? Karavanda. Okay, we get there, but you are really trying. Thank you, Dr.
For that appreciation. At this point, we will break briefly because of time. Let's try to have our tea break, do a tea break within 10 minutes. At worst 15, but let's work with 10 minutes. So we'll break for tea, and then when we come back, we'll have the next presentation. I hope all our facilitators will be here after the two presentations to have a session for questions and answers. So I want to request that the students, we value you, we love you, but just be patient briefly. Let's have the staff there, then we will follow. Our staff. So staff, that's, you can see another. For the sake of time, please start along. Have your teeth, then